look now at an example that we had started in class, or done in class, for matching a load of 200 plus J50 to a 50 ohm transmission line using a single stub tuner. Remember, the trick to this problem is really in connection with recognizing that when we have our stub, we're going to be adjusting the length L1 so that when we look into that section, we have 1 plus JB. And what we're essentially doing when we do that is we're essentially mapping our admittance, which you'll remember from the Smith chart. What you're essentially wanting to do is you're going to initially plot your normalized load, then you rotate 180 degrees, and that puts you on an admittance basis. And then you're basically wanting to move on that operating circle, which is a little hard to see here, but we're going to essentially follow this around until we intersect with the G equal 1 circle, which is this one. So it's here that we find that we're at 1 plus JB. So once there, at the 1 plus JB, we can then read off the admittance that we need to cancel out. And in this case, it's in this area right here, and you might be able to see it over there. It's 1 plus J 1.58. So it's at that point that we now need to look at, well, what are we doing with this piece of transmission line, this shorted section? And you'll recall from our discussion that the only thing that a shorted section of transmission line can do is to basically cancel out reactance. So we need that basically cancel out the minus. We have 1 plus J1.58. We need to be minus J1.58. And in order to do that, we basically need to go back to our Smith chart, where we'd identify that when we start over here at the shorted transmission line section, its admittance is infinite. We're going to rotate towards the generator until we get to the length at such that we get 1.58, which is about there, and it's this length right here that is the length L2 that will counteract that reactance. So that's essentially the process of using the single stub tuner. Now, that's not the only length that'll work. It turns out that there are other lengths. For example, we start over here and can walk around. We can stop there, or we can continue on to another solution there. And at that point, we would read off, first of all, the length. It's the L1 prime. And we can figure out from here the reactance that we need to cancel out, which is over here. And now, in order to counteract that, we'll essentially need to rotate again from this point all the way around to somewhere over here, where we'd be canceling out the minus 1.58 with a plus 1.58. So that length L2 prime will be quite a bit longer. So I don't know if this helps. Again, I illustrate the ideas of the single stub tuner, but I hope that it helps some. So with that, we're all done. See you next time.